In the Cardinals' eternal search for quality starting pitching, a deal with their buddies across the state in Kansas City could be the answer.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And welcome to another episode of Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. A big thank you to our everydayers for continuing to be here through thick and thin each and every day. And for those of you who are new, welcome in. I hope you guys enjoy the content. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. So coming up on today's show, we've got a waiver claim that just went down not too long ago involving the Cardinals grabbing a pitcher from the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to talk a little bit about Nolan Arenado, but we're going to start with the winter meetings, and we're going to start with a mock trade that has been brought up. Now, the winter meetings begin on Sunday in Orlando, and the Cardinals are going to be one of the more interesting teams to watch because of all the players that have been listed as guys they will listen to trade deals on. You've already dealt your top pitching chip in Sonny Gray. You still have Nolan Arenado to deal with. We'll talk more about that in segment 2. And you got a group of left-handed hitters that they are reportedly open to trading away. That group includes Donovan, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar, and Nolan Gorman. Now, the markets for Newt and Gorman probably aren't great. Newt is coming off surgeries to both his heels. Gorman coming off another rough year at the plate and isn't anything all that special defensively. So anything you get in return for them isn't likely to move the needle among Cardinals fans. But trading Donovan or trading Burleson, as much as us as fans don't want to see that happen because we like these guys and they're pretty good. We want to keep them around. It is likely to net them some pretty good assets in return. Now, we've heard reports about how strong the Donovan market is, and I'm betting there are plenty of teams who would love to add a Silver Slugger award-winning hitter like Alec Burleson, left-handed slugger in the prime. Why wouldn't you want to put that in your lineup? But we have also heard that it would take something massive to pry either one of them away from the Cardinals, who aren't necessarily under the gun, so to speak, to move either one of them. They don't have to. Neither one of them is going to be a free agent next year. It's not like they're trying to dump their salary or anything like that, but they're going to listen in case someone offers something spectacular that they just can't refuse, or gets them someone that they really, really like. You know, they would be willing probably to take a less if there's one player that's coming back that's somebody that they really are after, somebody they're very much targeting. Now, a team that has a solid crop of pitching right across the state, right? The Kansas City Royals. They've got a plethora of pitching right now. A lot of guys from the left-hand side. Cardinals don't have a lot of those. You know, you've got a Liam Doyle that's in the minors that, you know, you're hoping for good things to happen with him in the near future. But at the major league level, you don't. You've got Matthew Liberatore in the starting rotation and Jojo Romero right now. That's really it from the left-hand side. So getting somebody from the Royals, it just seems to make a lot of sense. We've discussed how the two teams match up pretty well in a trade scenario, and the Athletic's Jim Bowden recently put a piece out on the free agents trade scenarios that he would like to see in his winter meetings wish list column that he put down. And the trade he came up with is as follows. The Cardinals would be trading second baseman Brendan Donovan and outfielder Jordan Walker to the Kansas City Royals for left-handed pitcher Kris Bubic and a right-hander, Ben, and I don't want to screw up his last name, but Kudrna is, I believe, how he pronounces it. Ben Kudrna. This is what Bowden writes about this particular deal. Let's get you a photo of Mr. Bubic up there on the screen there. A cross-Missouri trade gives Donovan and Walker a chance to compete for an AL Central title, while the rebuilding Cardinals had two pitchers with team control remaining. Donovan will pair with Bobby Witt Jr. to give the Royals an elite middle infield, and Kansas City will get a shot at unlocking Walker's immense potential. Now, the debate has been, when we've discussed these deals with the Royals, is whether the Cardinals should be trying to get Cole Reagans or Bubic. Now, Bubic, who is listed in this particular deal, 28 years old, former first-round pick, has had injury issues. Tommy John at 23. Last year, it was a rotator strain, but he was an all-star last year in the first half of the season before he ended up getting that rotator strain. When he's healthy, he's been pretty good. All-star last year, combined ERA plus 160 over the last 2 seasons. You like that. Kudrna is the Royals' 7th-ranked prospect, second-rounder back in 21. Won the Kansas Baseball Gatorade Player of the Year honors as a senior. Decided to go pro instead of going to college. He's still just 22 years old. Didn't have a great season last year by any means. 2-7 record with a 4.21 ERA in 20 appearances. 19 of those were starts at Double-A. And then he was 0-1 with a 14.29 ERA in 4 appearances, 3 of those starts at Triple-A. So you think about that deal. And, you know, similar to the Sonny Gray one that was just made with Boston, where you're getting a pitcher who can help you now, and then another one that hopefully can help you later on down the road. I don't think getting that in return for just Donovan would be so bad. Like if you traded Brendan Donovan and you're able to get a Bubic and a prospect like that, a top 10 prospect in somebody's farm system, I don't think that's so bad. But, you know, having to toss in Jordan Walker with it, that bugs me a little bit because I've said it before. I'm willing to give him another year to see if we can turn this thing around. He's still just 23. I don't know why everyone wants to move on from him so quickly. I know he's had a couple of years here, but injuries kind of bugged him last year. You know, he's putting in the effort this offseason to try to get this thing figured out. And get back to what made him successful as a prospect early on in his career. His stock can't get much lower. It's not like you're selling him high right now before somebody figures out that he's not good. He hasn't been good the last couple seasons. So the stock's not going any lower. But I also understand that if you love Kris Bubic as the pitcher that you want to go get your hands on, why you wouldn't want to pass on that opportunity, why you wouldn't let Jordan Walker stand in your way. I haven't seen enough of Kris Bubic pitch to say that I love him or don't love him. Same thing with Cole Reagans, who had his own rotator injury last season to worry about as well. So I haven't gotten to see a ton of these guys over the last couple of years to really make a judgment call on whether or not, like, ooh, that's the guy I really, really want. I don't feel that way about them. I know they're solid pitchers when they're on the mound, which is great. But I'm with a lot of you in the comment section where I'd much rather be going after some guys who don't have as much of an injury concern first before I settle on guys like a Bubic and a Reagans. You know, John Denton at MLB.com, he swung for the fences in some of the names that he brought up, saying because the Cardinals aren't likely to be World Series contenders again until at least 27 or 28, they'd be smart to deal Donovan while his value is at its peak. With the Mariners, surrender Brian Wu. What if the Cardinals could land Miami's Yuri Perez or Cleveland's Tanner Bybee or Pittsburgh's Jared Jones or Bubba Chandler? Okay, so those are some massive names. Like Brian Wu was the Mariners' best pitcher last year. And he ended up getting hurt late in the season, which is why you didn't see him much in the postseason. But he was awesome last year. Yuri Perez, before the arm surgery, was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball, still has great stuff, certainly has a very high ceiling. Tanner Bybee, we know what he can do. Jared Jones was hurt last year. Bubba Chandler is one of the best pitching prospects in baseball as well. I cannot see Pittsburgh giving up Bubba Chandler for Brendan Donovan. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I feel like some of those names, kind of a reach for me. Seattle and Cleveland, though, are teams that have been brought up before. And if Bowden's deal is the best that the Cardinals can do, then perhaps they should take it. But I want to hear your thoughts and comments below on this deal. Good, bad, dumb, smart. What are you chasing in a Brendan Donovan deal? Would you add a Jordan Walker or a Nolan Gorman if you had to go get somebody of the caliber of a Kris Bubic? That is my question for you. Leave your thoughts in the comments. In my opinion, you can't move Donnie unless you have this Arenado situation figured out, though, first. I feel like that's got to get taken care of and figured out first. We'll discuss that next, coming up on Locked On Cardinals. The World Cup is coming back to North America. First time since, 1994? It's been a long time. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, this thing's going to be massive. It's the World Cup, man. It's huge. And let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part about enjoying the World Cup. And that's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging tickets. Now, with Gametime, you can track price drops in real time. You get alerts when the great seats open up and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It just puts the power back into your hands and makes going to the World Cup more realistic instead of impossible, which is how it might feel to you right now. You pull up the app. The layout makes it very simple. You scroll through matchups. You find the matchup that you want to go to. You can compare your seat views. You pick the game. You tap the section. Boom. Tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion. No hunting for fine print. You got the seat view feature, which is going to show you exactly what your view is going to be during the game. Plus, it includes all the fees up front. All right. No secret fees. I love the fact that they do that. No last second surprises at checkout, which becomes very annoying. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, and event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Gametime. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your very first listen each and every day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Now, if you enjoy daily Cardinals content, you can follow the podcast on X, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, all over the place. The Sonny Gray deal caught me a little off guard when it happened, not because it did happen, but because how quickly it was able to come to fruition. Now, when you have a talented player like Sonny, you usually want to get other teams in on the idea that you're going to move them, right? You want to get them to bid against each other for that particular player's services. That way you get the best deal possible. With Sonny, things were a bit different. He's got or had the no trade clause and essentially could tell Chaim Bloom and the Cardinals where he was willing to go. My guess is that it wasn't a very big list. And when one of those teams, like the Red Sox, offers you assets that you really, really wanted, Richard Fitz, Brandon Clark, it did not take long for Chaim to smash that yes button, right? And accept the deal. Now, talking with Gabby from Locked On Red Sox yesterday, we both agreed that this is a deal that right now feels like a win-win for both sides. The Sox got their guy, don't have to pay him his full salary. Cardinals save some money, get some pitching with one guy who can help immediately, and then one guy who they really, really like, whose timeline fits with what the Cardinals' timeline is for getting back into contention and into a winning window. Everyone seems happy right now, and we can monitor how that changes as the season progresses, because I'm sure it will. But the next domino that needs to happen, and is reportedly still priority #1 for the Cardinals, is moving on from Nolan Arenado, which, unfortunately, could also be the most challenging move that the team will make in this offseason. For one, also has a no trade clause, which is always a pain in the butt, and he can pick and choose where he would prefer to go. Sonny probably had a very short list of teams. Last year, Arenado had a very short list of teams that he was willing to listen to, but we've heard that this list has probably expanded a bit now that Nolan is more willing to be moved than he was last year. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the fact that they had a deal with the Houston Astros last year and Nato vetoed it really screwed the Cardinals over. This whole rebuild, this whole runway thing that they were going for in 2025 got screwed up because of that. They wanted to give Nolan Gorman and Thomas JC more time to play each and every day at third base and at second base and see how they were. And that all got sabotaged by Arenado deciding I didn't want to go to Houston. And I'm betting they look back on it now and the Cardinals are still kind of about it, where Arenado's probably the same way, where he's like, yeah, I probably should have done that. I probably should have went to Houston. They had a pretty good team. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that having Nolan Arenado on the Cardinals would be an inconvenience. I never thought it'd be a problem that he's over there playing third base for you, but That's what happened last year. It slowed down the wheels of this whole rebuild, as did the no-trade clauses of Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, and Miles Michaelis. They didn't want to go anywhere. They didn't want to leave. We tried to get rid of them. We said, hey, well, what do you think? And they said, no, I want to be here. And so everything the Cardinals wanted to do last year came to a screeching halt. Now here we are this offseason, and Arenado's stock has continued to fall despite his contract being less of a problem. Now it's not as many years, it's not as expensive, but he is the guy that is once again holding things up for the Cardinals. Everydayers have heard me mention this before. The sooner that you get Arenado out of the way, the sooner you know how much money you have left over for other things like starting rotation, bullpen, perhaps a right-handed bat that can help you out in the outfield. But how difficult is it going to be to move him? And it feels like it's going to be pretty hard. I mean, who even wants him at this point? Declining bat, career low OPS of 666 last year, health concerns after playing in a career low 107 games, minus the COVID season, obviously. The glove is still very good, but he hasn't won the Gold Glove in 3 years. He's an aging star at an impact position, so I don't blame other teams for exhausting any and every other avenue before turning to the Cardinals and Arenado as something that they might want to do. The two teams that still feel like possible fits to me are the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. Now, I know the Angels have been brought up, but I don't know how realistic that is. I was talking to John from Locked On Angels yesterday, and he's like, I really gave it a lot of thought, and I don't see how bringing Nolan Arenado into this team helps what we're doing at all. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. As far as the Phillies and the D-backs go, neither team would need him to be a main cog in their offense. He'd be a complementary piece. Phillies still got Alec Bohm over there at third base, so they'd need to do something with him. They still have to figure out this whole Kyle Schwarber situation. JT Realmuto is also a free agent, their longtime catcher. But Nato's salary, as far as like a fit for Philly, his salary shouldn't be an issue, especially with the Cardinals likely to eat a big chunk of the money. You'd have him teaming up with Bryce Harper, Trey Turner. They've got that excellent pitching staff. It's a win now situation. It's a win now ownership who are still trying to figure out why they haven't gotten to the World Series again. Like, why is it happening like this? Like this team is way too talented to not be winning. And I know, with Zach Wheeler going down last year, that really hurt them because of what he meant to their starting rotation. You're talking about a Cy Young type of pitcher. But that kind of situation, I think, would reinvigorate Nolan Arenado, and perhaps he'd be able to elevate his game and be more like the guy that, you saw in, say, 2023 instead. The D-backs, different story altogether. They're much younger, but a presence like Arenado, you know how you always need veteran leadership. A presence like him could do wonders for that group. It would also get him out west again, which is where he's from. And maybe they bring in Paul Goldschmidt. I brought it up before, and the BFFs can reunite together. Got to be some old people on the corners, but they got a lot of youth everywhere else. But we've also seen that the D-backs might be shopping Ketel Marte. They traded Suarez. They traded Naylor. Both of those guys went to Seattle. Zach Gallen's a free agent. They had a bunch of bullpen injuries last year, so maybe they're not as close to winning as Nato would like. So maybe Arizona doesn't feel like that's a fit. I don't know. It's just another spot that kind of, makes sense in a way. The Philly one makes the most sense. I know Derek Gould brought it up in his chat the other day too. It just makes a lot of sense. It seems like it'd be a good fit. It's one of those, big city classic teams, a lot of leadership already that I think Arenado would feed off of. But what happens if nobody is willing to trade assets for him? Then what happens? Because Chaim Bloom didn't think that releasing him was going to be an option early on in this offseason. But to me, it's starting to feel like the suitors for him aren't all that plentiful. You've still got the free agent guys, Alex Bregman, Eugenio Suarez. They got to go somewhere. The Japanese players coming over that can play third, that's going to affect the market as well. So we kind of have to wait to see where those guys land before Arenado becomes an option for some of these teams. It just feels like it's going to be a real struggle to move him. I hope I'm wrong, but if and when it happens, then it will open the door and lead to being able to move on to the idea of trading one of those left-handed bats like Donovan, Gorman, Nootbaar, Burleson, as well as listening to offers on Wilson Contreras, who apparently is more open to being traded than he was before. So that's kind of where it all stands. So I feel like Nato is kind of blocking this thing again from really getting moving. So hopefully something will happen at these winter meetings that are going to start on Sunday. We're going to wrap things up with a waiver claim by the Cardinals. They got themselves a pitcher plus another former Cardinal heading to Boston. This is Locked On Cardinals. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. And that's why live betting is awesome. And live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to what's going on your TV in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Heck, you can be at the game and do it. That's not a problem either. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. I told you Thursday night was going to be a shootout. I told you that you should get in on that. So hopefully you did. The rest of this weekend, you've got a few games that are probably going to be pretty entertaining. Bengals at Bills seems to be like the closest thing to a shootout like we saw on Thursday. That should be fun. The Bears are at my Packers. We've got both former St. Louis franchises battling each other with the Rams at the Cardinals. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. You get a receiver or a quarterback that gets hot, running back, a defense tightens up, momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel will let you jump into the moment and have some fun with it. You can bet the next TD scores, the drive results, totals, and more. It just keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the Locked On MLB podcast where there is no offseason. Sully keeps you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed MLB fan. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Time for news and notes. And late today, not all that long ago, the Cardinals made a move and claimed right-handed pitcher Zach Kent from the Cleveland Guardians. Throw a picture of Zach up there for you. 27 years old, debuted with the Guardians this past season, was 1-0, 4.58 ERA, 16 strikeouts over 17 and 2/3 and 12 appearances. Originally selected by the Rangers in the 2019 draft out of Virginia Military Institute, VMI is what we call it. He made 68 minor league appearances, primarily as a starter with the Rangers. After pitching the entire 24 spring training season with them, he got traded to Cleveland and sent to their AAA affiliate in Columbus, was moved to a relief role entirely for the 2025 season with 34 appearances, posting a 2-3 record and a 2.84 ERA with 2 saves. 6'3", 220 pounds. You look at the photo of him. He's got the red hair, the red beard. You know, he's like Dustin May. You know, a guy that we've talked about on the show that maybe the Cardinals ought to kick the tires on and bring him in as a free agent. He's like Dustin May light. Not as crazy looking, but you know, he's got some similarities. But made his major league debut last season. Features a 4-pitch arsenal comprised of the slider, 4-seamer, curveball, and sinker. Ran a spin rate of 2850 on his slider, 2851 on his curveball. So those are fantastic to hear. You love to hear that. Another name that is being brought in, he immediately goes to the 40-man roster. So the 40-man roster now sits at 39. So they still got one open space left. So we'll see what they want to do with him, whether he's going to be in a relief role. Is he somebody they'll tinker with and say, hey, you interested in becoming a starter again like he was before he got to the Guardians organization? We'll find out. And another former Cardinal is headed to Beantown. And it's so funny that we were talking with Gabby yesterday, and we're like, look, watch, there's going to be another trade. It's going to involve somehow the Cardinals. Kinda. The Pirates made a trade with the Red Sox on Thursday that sent Johan Oviedo to Boston. Oviedo used to be with the Cardinals. The Red Sox dealt outfielder and their number 3 prospect, Jostynson Garcia, although he spells it crazy. Jostynxon. His nickname is the password because it's so goofy. Anyway, it's him. Righty Jesus Travieso to the Pirates as part of a 5-player package. In return to Boston, you get the 6'6", 275-pound Oviedo, plus 2 minor leaguers, a catcher, Adonis Guzman, and lefty Tyler Samaniego. Samaniego, maybe, to make room on the 40-man roster for Oviedo. The Red Sox designate a right-handed pitcher, Cooper Criswell, for assignment. Oviedo, since leaving the Cardinals, if you remember, was sent to Pittsburgh in the Jose Quintana trade deadline deal back in 2022, which worked out for the Cardinals because Quintana was very, very good, ended up being the best pitcher they had, started the first game against the Phillies in the playoffs that year, which is the last time the Cardinals made the playoffs. So it worked out nicely. He's had a rough go since going to Pittsburgh. Injuries have been a thing. Tommy John surgery, missed all of 24, but made 9 starts last season. 2-1, 3.57 ERA in 40 and a third innings. He walked 23, struck out 42. He looks like he should be a stud. You guys remember him when he was in a Cardinal uniform. He looked like he was going to be somebody. They just had to kind of reel it in and figure out how to get this guy to throw more strikes. That was really his problem. It appears it is still one of his major problems with 23 walks and 40 and a third innings. So if they could ever work out that command, he's got the stuff to be pretty good. So Boston is where he's going to move to now. Don't have to deal with him as one of those revenge game pitchers from the Pittsburgh Pirates anymore. So that's the news and notes that's going on around the league, and that involves the Cardinals. And obviously, we'll keep our ears to the ground and see if anything else goes down. But Zach Kent, now a St. Louis Cardinal. How long will Donovan, Arenado, or any of these guys remain around? We'll find out. Once again, winter meetings are going to start on Sunday. Anything that changes in between now and then, obviously, when the meetings begin on Sunday in Orlando, we'll be on top of it all. So make sure you guys are tuned in and paying attention to us. Thanks for making Locked on Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow. Kind of a big deal on X at @L_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok, Instagram at Locked on Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked on Cardinals.